In today's lesson, we're going to be solving a system of equations algebraically. Now, in the past, we've been doing it graphically, where we graph two lines and see where they intersect. But now we're going to do the same exact thing, but just using our algebra skills, because this is an important skill that you need to know not only for this year, but moving on into high school and through your algebra class. All right, so same type of approach where we use the other equations when we're graphing to solve the system is what we're going to do when we're doing these algebraic equations. And again, we want to make sure that y equals something in both equations, that the y is isolated. So in both equations, the y is isolated. So it's saying y equals these two different expressions. Now, when you have that, you're going to be able to just set the expressions equal to each other. So we have 3x plus 15 equals, I'm going to change, well, not change it, I'm just going to add the little 1 in between the negative and the x, just to remember that it's a negative 1, and solve it. All right, so basically we're just solving where these two lines intersect using our algebra skills. All right, first step I'm going to do is add 1x to both sides. So we get 4x plus 15 equals negative 9. Those cancel out. Then we're going to minus 15 from both sides. Those cancel out, and you get 4x is negative 24. Divide both sides by 4. We get x is negative 6. Now, usually when we solve equations, we're done. We have x is our answer, and we are finished. All right, we go back and check it. But since we're solving a system now, not only do we need the x, but we also need the y value. Now, what's nice about these system equations is that the y is isolated, so all I have to do is plug it back in for x into one of the equations. It doesn't matter which equation you plug it back into. You should get the same answer no matter what equation you plug it into. All right, so we have y equals 3 times negative 6 plus 15, which is negative 18, plus 15, which is negative 3. And again, if I plug it into the other equation, I should get the same thing, right? Negative of a negative 6 is a positive 6 minus 9, which is also negative 3. It doesn't matter which equation you plug in. So my solution to this equation is negative 6. Always the x goes first. Negative 3. There's my solution. All right, let's look at a more difficult one with fractions. Let's look at number 6. Okay, well, we have fractions and parentheses. So again, my y's are isolated. So all I have to do is set the expressions equal to each other. So we have 1/8 times 3x minus 40 equals 10 plus x. Okay, going to distribute. 1/8 times 3x is 3/8 x. 1/8 times 40 is negative 5. And I'm going to put the plus 1x. All right, now, in order to bring the x's over, okay, all right, I'm going to minus 3/8 x from both sides, but you got to be careful because the 1, you need a common denominator before you add and subtract fractions. So the common denominator I want here is an 8, right? So I'm going to change this 1 to an 8/8. So 8 over 8 minus 3 over 8 is 5 over 8. Okay, then I'm going to minus 10 from both sides. And I'm going to continue my work over here. So we get negative 15 equals 5/8 x. Now, to get rid of a fraction, to do the inverse operation of 5/8 x, you have to multiply both sides by the reciprocal, 8 over 5. So that'll cancel these out. You have to do the same thing over here, multiply by 8 over 5. 8 over 5 times negative 15. I'll show you how to do that in your calculator. 8 divided by 5 times 15 negative equals negative 24. So that is my x. But again, I'm not done. I have to plug it back in to solve for y. So I'm going to take this negative 24 and I'm going to plug it in this one. That's a lot easier than the top one. So we have y equals 10 plus negative 24, which is negative 14. So my solution is negative 24, negative 14. And I can also check with the other one to make sure it's also negative 14. So I do 3 times 24 negative minus 40 divided by 8. Oops. Let me double check that. Sorry. 3 times negative 24 equals negative 72 minus 40 equals negative 112 divided by 8, which is negative 14. So it works out. All right, I want to look at one more problem. Number 7. Now in this one, again, y's are isolated. I can just set them equal to each other. Then I distribute. 1/2 of 6x is 3x. 1/2 of negative 2 is negative 1. Oh, so now notice here in our equation, we have 3x minus 1 equals 3x. So we have the same coefficient, different constant. So if I try to solve this when I have the same coefficient, different constant, notice what I get. Minus 3x. They both cancel out. So you get 0 equals negative 1. And when that's the case, remember, there is no solution. So not always the case you're going to get one solution. Sometimes you might get no solution. Sometimes you might get infinite when they have the same coefficient, same constant. So just be aware of that when you're going through these problems. All right. So again, we're going to set the expressions equal to each other, solve for x, plug back in for y. All right. That's it for today's lesson. If again, work through these problems. If you have questions in class, let me know. Thank you.